Good morning, evening, or afternoon. We're going over the new banner, the new child banner that's coming out. First part of 2.2. It's going to be the first banner, and it's going to have a little bit of things that you may want to pull on, a little bit of things that you may not want to be pulling on. We're going over that today, guys. And as always, if you like being around, hanging out with the family, join it, hit the sub button, hit that bell as well, and let's get into it. And here's the new banner. It's going to be Childe, Ningguang, Chongyun, and Yanfei. No Toma is on this banner, guys, so that's going to be a big trap number one for you. But there's also some reasons that you'd want to pull on this banner or maybe not. And so we're going to lay those out as constellations characters and how these characters are kind of performing in the meta right now and how they will in the future. Now, the first character we're going to want to talk about here is Childe. Now, as far as power level for Childe, he still has the good fireworks teams, electrocharge teams. There's going to be like Childe, Fischl, Beidou, then an animal character of your choice. There's also some other things that you can put in there if you want to run fireworks, like a pyro character to just kind of get the fireworks going. And he still does that very well with his elemental skill, being able to apply hydro in an extremely fast rate, and also being able to do very good AoE damage. Those are the two things that Childe is able to do. He hasn't had any new team members that have shown up that have kind of like made him a whole bunch better. You could use him with Ball, I suppose, but really the electrocharge damage from that team is coming from Beidou and Fischl. Beidou and Fischl are still going to be doing so much damage in combination with your electrocharge detonator, basically procking on everybody with the Foul Legacy Raging Tide here. Another thing that Childe is very good at doing is AoE damage. This is because of his good old Riptide procs in melee form from the Riptide Slash. This hits every time you crit. Super strong stuff. It blows up an AoE, and it does a lot of damage if you have a lot of enemies in a certain sort of distance within each other. So that's going to be a reason to pull for Childe. Outside of that, I mean, you can use them for some other stuff. Like a lot of people like using them in other certain team compositions, like maybe Hu Tao, if you like doing that. And there also is like, will he work with Toma? Will he work with Toma? Toma is going to have, remember, 1 second between each of his procs on his fire stuff. And Tartaglia just applies Hydra way too much. They could work, but it's going to seem like that's going to be kind of like a nombo. Think of like how your girl Yomi has a problem sort of proccing all of her stuff because she attacks that fast with Xing Shou. Tartaglia is going to have the same sort of problem with Toma, where it will work a little bit, but it's not going to work the entire way, especially because you're also not reverse vaporizing with Tartaglia. You're actually doing full vaporizes, so that's probably not going to work out the way you want it to there. That might be a trap that you see there. Weapon selection, still all the same good stuff as before. He is going to have that new bow, which is going to be fantastic for him. It's going to be a step up, crit rate, attack percent large increases there. Super awesome stuff. The elemental skill and elemental burst damage on it doesn't do a whole lot for Childe because of how Foul Legacy Raging Tide works. Although if I believe Foul Legacy Raging Tide, does it count as elemental damage with the detonations? Riptide Slash. Yeah, the Riptide Slash proc itself, the detonation is elemental damage. However, the rest of his E is going to be that normal attack slash charging attack damage there as well. So a little bit of damage increase from the elemental skill damage, but not a whole ton. And if you've wanted Childe before for the things he was good at before, he's still going to be good at those things now. There's just not a whole lot of reason to pull for him since his last rerun banner. The bow is basically the biggest like power boost to him before, because you need to have that high crit rate there. Now, the other character we want to talk about here is Chongyun. Chongyun is very good and is part of the national team in this one specific scenario. Now, if you don't know what the national team is, it's, Chongyun, Xingling, Xingqiu, and then there's like a fourth member that you could put in there. Usually it's almost always going to be Bennett. That's the core national team. You use Chongyun so you can start melting Xingling's elemental burst, do a bunch of damage that way. It's a fantastic free-to-play team, because it's all 4-star characters. So if you get your hands on a Chongyun here, that could be awesome there as well. Now, speaking of Toma and how Toma didn't really work all that well, and it doesn't look like it's going to be all that sort of positive sort of thoughts on how that's going to work. Toma has the ability to, sort of work a lot better with characters like Chongyun, because if you're a cryo character, you can be reverse melting, all right, and then you don't swing super fast with a character like Chongyun. So this could be a character that could get, if you're loving Chongyun as a character, you love him aesthetically, someone that's going to work better with Toma when Toma does arrive there and already has a fantastic team. Now, as far as constellations goes, each of these are fine, they're okay, but nothing really like jumps out like super insane. If I want to say one was like the most game-changing constellation for him, it could be C2, depending on what sort of team you're running, because C2, 15% cooldown reduction on elemental skills and elemental burst. So that's going to be fantastic for that national team for Guoba's cooldown, for the Pyronado's cooldown. This thing is a monster. As long as you're casting your skills and your bursts inside his Spirit Blade circle, that's gonna be a fantastic constellation for Chongyun out there. Now, Ningguang is a character that I've heard a whole lot of play about before, but she's just been here, still doing that ×2 Geo thing, get that damage bonus up, Geo resistance down, and she's here for that strong single target burst damage. ×2 Geo teams is a very strong core for a lot of Abyss matchups that you bring your 2 elemental resonations that you need. Now, as far as constellations goes, her C1 and C2 are pretty amazing here. The C1 does AoE damage. This is a pretty big one if you're using her as a main damage dealer. And then her C2 is going to reset the cooldown of Jade Screen when it is shattered, which works with her elemental burst. You can drop the screen, use your burst, which shatters your screen. It does bonus damage because you did that, and then you reset the cooldown and then drop the screen on the enemy heads once again. And it has a fairly nice elemental damage multiplier, 392 at level 9 there. So like a 400% damage multiplier that you can reset and do again. That's very nice of a constellation. Now, also, you can get all the way down to C6. You'll get 7 more Star Jades for her elemental burst. And this is also going to be with this right here, Star Shatter. Damage per gem. You get 7 additional ones. So 165% damage mod there, which is pretty nice. And then obviously we have the C6 here, which gives you 7 Star Jades when you use Star Shatter, and Star Jades are attached to your normal attack here. And you get 7 of them, so 74.4 at normal attack talent level 7 times 7. That's a significant damage increase if you can get her all the way up to C6. So C1, 2, and 6 are fantastic for the old dragon-fingered lady. Super awesome. I need to dust her off more and use her again now. But as far as like things that have changed since she's come out before from this banner, is there anything out there that's making her a lot better than before? No, not really. No new characters that are new yet. I have another video short up, ready to go over those 2 characters who got sneak peek leaked, and I'm kind of cool. I love Geo, so we're going to be wrecking on that stuff as well. But Ningguang, still a very solid character, single target burst damage, ×2 Geo's core element for you. You've been working with her for a little while. You don't have C1 and C2 yet. Maybe you'll get them on this banner. Now, and then lastly, we have Yanfei, who's kind of like a 4-star version of Klee, but easier to play than Klee. Doesn't need all the animation cancels. Klee has a higher damage ceiling if you know all the animation cancels to do all that cool stuff. But Yanfei can do just as much damage according to the good old mathematicians out there if you're not playing Klee to her 100% maximum, which is very, very difficult to do. I can't even do it, and I've been trying to play with Klee for forever, but she is a much easier version of Klee to use. Does a lot of damage with her normal attack and charge attack combo. If you have the right timing, you can get a lot of your Xingqiu vaporizes in there as well on your charge attacks. So very cool character. As far as constellations goes, I mean, once again, like, yeah, you reduce your charge attack cost, right? You can get this crit rate one though. Now this one is a pretty nice damage boost one. 20% crit rate on your charge attack, which is the vast majority of your damage against enemies below 50% health. So this one can be pretty nice if you get access to Constellation 2. Obviously 3 and 5 just give your levels up there. And then done deal here. I don't really have a big ask on this one. Shield, and it scales off her HP. And then extra claws, maximum seals by 1. These really aren't all that worth it. But if you can get Seed 2, you know, get it for free there, that's cool. All right, that's fine. And then free charge attack consumption, that's going to be a DPS increase because she wants to be using her charge attacks all the time, and that can help you out a ton there with Yanfei, which can be a nice thing for you if you are a Yanfei user out there. If you get her for free and you know you just got her, you start to pull on the game for free. And then obviously last but not least, the old constellations for Childe here. Now the first one here, a lot of people have some questions about the first one. How good is this one? Reducing the cooldown of Raging Tide by 20%. Now remember, the longer you're in Raging Tide, which is elemental skill, the longer the cooldown is. And this is really the main sort of like skill test when you start to play with Childe. You can, if you want to stay in this forever, you could stay in here for a very long time. You can stay up to 30 seconds. But that's really not how you want to be playing them. You want to get in, do some damage, and get out. Think of him like a character who has like a forced E cooldown timer on it. Someone like Hu Tao or someone like Yoimiya, you want to play them like that. Stay in there for like 5-8 seconds and then leave and come back. You can stay in there longer if you want to, but how much does this elemental skill cooldown reduction be affected by this constellation? Remember, 20% less, which is pretty nice. So 6 seconds, 20% of that, you're looking at not even all, but just over a little bit of 1 second there, which is wild. Yeah, that'll be 1.2 seconds there because it's 20%, which is nice, but are you pulling for a 5-star for 1.2 seconds? If you're staying in your burst window for, you know, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 seconds, if you're staying there a full 10 seconds, it's going to be a very nice reduction on your cooldown, but it's still, in my opinion, not going to be worth the full-on thing. It's not going to be worth the full-on C1 just for that. And obviously the C6 here changes them entirely, because if you defeat an enemy, you're good to go there. As far as the other ones here, though, defeating enemies give 4 elemental energy. His elemental burst doesn't cost all that much. I don't think I've ever had a problem keeping his elemental burst filled up. It costs 60 energy. He's useful the most in AoE damage scenarios, so if you're using him in AoE damage, super awesome stuff there. He's going to have so many particles from enemies dying and getting in low HP that won't matter at all. And then obviously we have the C4 here, which gets you basically an extra couple Riptide effects. Okay, you can get one every 4 seconds. All right, if you defeat an enemy with Riptide Slash. And remember, Riptide Slash is the melee one that you're used to. Riptide Flash is the one that you get from using a charge attack here and your normal attack here. And it does a significantly less damage, but it procs a couple of times, about half the amount of damage as Riptide Slash will be doing in a lot of scenarios out there. So keep that in mind as well. C4 is fine. C1, I still wouldn't go for it, guys. I don't think it's all that worthwhile. Because honestly, who wants to pull for another 5-star for 20%? 1.2 seconds off.